Welcome back again to the Voice of Source. Um, Today I'm going to talk about this wonderful game of life that I find myself in. And I'm going to continue along the rules of the game, a topic that I started earlier in my previous episode. And the most fundamental rule of the game is well, of course, we have to respect all lives, right? And killing is definitely something that goes against the rule, the Matrix game of life. And of course, eating meat, is single handedly the most, I guess, detrimental rule for the elevation of source players in terms of frequency, raising our frequency. This is a frequency game. This game is all about energy, frequency, and vibration, right? And the higher our frequency, the higher the rate at which we vibrate, the better choices that we have, and the easier it is for us to experience our best life. The lower our vibration, the lower frequency level, lends itself to all kinds of strife and struggle and debilitating choices and those kind of things. And so it's imperative that a source fractal or a player of source, in order to reestablish a connection to the core of who we are, who and what we are, our source self awareness, it is essential to remove meat. The second rule that is very, very important is no orgasms. And yes, I said that, no orgasms. Orgasms is very energetically draining, for one. And it also, to some extent, keeps us trapped in lower frequency as well. Um, a lot of times people engage in watching pornography and those sensual type things that keeps us trapped at a lower frequency, and as a result, it keeps us disconnected from our infinite source self, and so we cannot apprehend source truth and source knowledge. Now, before the win of the game, one of our celebrated fractals has already won the game and has shared the win with all of us who are still here playing. But before the win of the game, we had to slay the dragon as a means to escape the matrix. And slaying the dragon means completely disconnecting from all sexual activity whatsoever. That Ouroboros that you see with the dragon eating its tail, whenever we engage in sexual activity, that's essentially what we were doing. We're essentially eating our own selves. It is a pay to play game, and every time we do something, it costs us dearly. And so every time we have an orgasm, it drains significantly from our synergy cell. Of course, now that the game is won and inner alchemy is not necessary in order to exit the matrix anymore, we're all exiting at the end of this timeline. Some orgasms can be experienced and still escape the game of life. It is not essential to slay the dragon anymore in order to exit the game. Rule number three would be unforgiveness. It is absolutely essential to forgive anyone and hold no grudges, right? We should live our lives in airtight compartments, meaning daily, daily compartments, now moments, right? Don't carry forward any grudges, any offense, or anything from one moment to the next, from one day to the next. Like holding a grudge or holding on to unforgiveness is like you drinking a poison and expecting the other person to die from it. It is not beneficial at all for a source player. And again, this information is for source players. It doesn't matter to non-player characters. Indeed, it doesn't matter to the entity. So unforgiveness must be released, no matter what it is. Just forgive, because again, this is a game. It's a virtual reality simulation, and the people, the entities, the beings, whatever it is that we're holding a grudge against, we're simply following whatever script they were given in this particular game. And so to hold unforgiveness is detrimental to our progress up the frequency ladder. Again, it's a frequency game. We have to raise our frequency. Um, Number four, um, no drugs. I hear people talk about mushrooms and ayahuasca and all of these psychedelic experiences. We're source, right? We don't need any artificial stimulants to connect back to our source self. We just simply need to recognize that this is a virtual reality simulation game, and we are fractals of source, players of source, experiencing this reality. And the key is for us to reconnect to our infinite source self so we could apprehend again source truth, source knowledge, and realize that the psychedelic movement and all of these things that take us into an altered state of consciousness is not beneficial for us as players of source in this virtual reality simulation. No drugs, alcohol, no wines, no liquors, no spirits, no spirits. Liquor is called spirits for a reason, because whenever we engage in those kind of things, we attract attachments to ourselves. And those attachments themselves can become energy draining, physically and energetically draining. And so it's not beneficial for us as players of source to engage in drinking alcohol. Now, again, like I said before, all things are permissible in this game for players of source, but not all things are beneficial. All are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. So, in order for us to win the game, we need to play by rules, and these are rules of the game that we need to adhere to, right? Not because we're not powerful creators. We indeed are powerful creators. We just simply have to abide by those rules in order to raise our frequency high enough to where we could create our best life yet in this journey. So, no recreational drugs like cigarettes. Eliminate cigarettes also. Those things are also detrimental to our journey in this game. And no criticism or judgment against the game or against anything or entity or any person in the game. What are we judging? We, as fractals of source, as players of source, created this virtual reality experience. And so everything that we encounter in this game is part of the game that we created. So what really are we judging? Right? If you're playing Grand Theft Auto or World of Warcraft or one of those games and you're interacting with a character, you don't judge the character. It might be a tough character and you might say, whoa, that character is tough, make an assessment. But you don't judge the character. Why? Because you know it's a character and it's following along the lines of the programming that it was given. It's script, indeed. And so, no judgment. Completely eliminate judgment. If we could do these things on a more consistent basis. And one last thing, one last rule is to remember to stay in the now. It's absolutely important to stay in the now because that is where our power lies. Yes, indeed, we are fractalized in many different timelines, perhaps in many different realms and dimensions, but the reality is everything is playing out right now, in this now day, in this now moment. And so whenever we start worrying about the past, regretting things that we've done in the past or worrying about the future, then we're taking one of our game pieces from the now and moving it to wherever it is that our mind is. And that diminishes our creative ability within the present moment, within the now. And so it is essential for us to remember we have to stay in the now because that's where our empowerment is. Again, to recap, to summarize, and I'm going to get into some major esoteric depth and explanation of a lot of these things that I'm talking here. These are just glazing over some of the topics that I will get more meat into later on. But in order to be successful and to raise our frequency, the rules of the game are one, no meat. That one is essential, right? Most source players all are in lower frequency realm, and as long as we continue to consume meat, we will stay there. There's no way to get out. There's no way to get out of the red zone, which is the lower frequency realm of this game. without first giving up meat. So you have to give up meat as a player. Now, this is not for everyone, only for players of Source. No meat, no orgasm. Although now that the game has been won, Source players can enjoy and experience orgasms. Not too many and too often, of course. So no orgasm, although a little bit here and there is permissible. Not permissible, but can be experienced. Um, Release unforgiveness. Don't hold on to unforgiveness. Uh, no drugs, psychedelical drugs, ayahuasca, marijuana, all of these different things. As fractals of source, we don't need artificial stimulants to reconnect to our infinite source selves. No drugs, no alcohol of any kind, spirits, liquor, beer, wines, whatever the case might be. No smoking, no cigarettes, and no judgment. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge anything, anyone, any entity, any situation. And last, remember to stay in the now moment. It is very difficult to stay in the now, but it's absolutely essential because that's where our power lies. And as I go on, I will start talking about how we can actually manipulate this game. Um, there are ways to add to our synergy cell, and I'm going to talk about the synergy cell and what it means for us as players of Source and how we can add to it. And I'm going to get into inner alchemy, what it is. The counterfeit in the matrix is, of course, Kundalini rising. That's a matrix counterfeit that has nothing to do with Source. Inner alchemy, merging the female and masculine energy together within ourselves, is inner alchemy. And indeed, Kundalini is a counterfeit of that, so I'll have a video talking about that. But for now, this one was to talk about the rules of the game and expand a little bit more on it. So, thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.